What's going on, Wolves and Warriors? My name's Jay Stewart, and this is the Better Body Academy podcast, the #1 show for those looking to permanently overhaul their mind and body without dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. We banish the fitness industry BS and replace it with science-backed strategies proven through countless client transformations. In the Better Body Academy, we help busy men and women around the world get unstuck and back into momentum so they start feeling strong and sexy again. Our mission is to transform 1 million lives, and you, my friend, could be next. And on that note, let's get straight into today's show. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to if you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be taking a little bit of a pivot, okay? We're going to dial back on the seriousness and give you guys maybe something to educate and empower you during this lockdown period. So guys, we're going to be talking about sex. Let's go. Super important part of our life. But over the last couple of podcast episodes, we've kind of been going deep into the mentality around lockdown and the challenges that are upon us. So what we want to do in this episode is really just dial it back a little bit and kind of maybe give all the men and women out there a justification that's backed in science as to perhaps why you should be having a little bit more sex. So, of course, morning again. This is a very important part of our lives. So when we talk about health, I think, we tend to obviously relate to the physical health and we relate to the mental health, but we don't give a lot of credence to, other parts like our emotional health, our spiritual health, our social health, and of course, our sexual health. And when we talk about sexual health, that doesn't always just go to, conditions. That goes to being in relationships or being solo and having, experiencing the benefits, both mental and physical, that actually come with sex, okay? And I'm going to give you a little bit of research evidence to show that the benefits of sex include, and more frequent sex include, things like, yes, it still counts as light exercise, particularly it gives you a little bit of a huff and puff, but some of the actual benefits to having sex more frequently include lower blood pressure, obviously burning of calories, improved heart health, strengthening of muscles, reduction of risk of things like stroke and diabetes, and of course, increased libido. Now, one of the studies that I want to kind of draw attention to was one whereby they looked at the impact of sex on the immune system of people in romantic relationships, okay? And already I can see I've got a couple of brothers here tagging their missuses. How good. Okay, so people who had frequent sex, and this was considered to be 2 times a week or more, had actually increased levels of something called immunoglobulin A in their saliva. And so what immunoglobulin A actually does is serves as a bit of a first defense in fighting off diseases, bacterial diseases and virus diseases. So it is an antibody that actually helps as the first line of defense. And they found that, for people that have sex twice a week, it was actually enough to increase the levels of this antibody. Now, the second study showed that it actually can improve your sleep. And so how would this actually happen? Because for those of you that are going to use this as a way to create some leverage for more sex in your relationships, you better have the mechanism by which it actually works correct. Otherwise, your partner's going to call your bluff, right? And so your body, when you have sex, releases a hormone called oxytocin. This is also known as the love hormone or the intimacy hormone. And along with a number of other endorphins, or what are sometimes called feel-good chemicals, the combination of these hormones can actually lead to a sedative effect. And so not only do you get the benefits of becoming more rested, but you also get the benefits, the secondary benefits that go with being more slept, more recovered, which would include things like, a stronger immune system. So it's not only that it has the direct links with increasing some chemicals like immunoglobulin A, which serve as the first line of defense, but in addition to that, because you're releasing this feel-good hormone or the love hormone called oxytocin, you're getting better sleep. And because you're getting better sleep, you're actually building a stronger immune system and having more energy during the day. Another study that I found showed that there is a link between having more sex and relief from migraines or cluster headaches, of all things. To go into the details of people that were sexually active during the times when they were suffering migraines, 60% reported an improvement in their migraines, 70% reported moderate to complete relief during a migraine, and 91% reported moderate to complete relief of cluster headaches. So this has some real benefits, and it all comes down to these number of hormones that are released, like oxytocin and serotonin, as part of the sex process. So let's look a bit more specifically into gender-based benefits, okay? So here are some examples. A study that I came across found that regular sex led to, in men, a reduced risk of prostate cancer. So I'll give you the numbers. One study found that men who averaged specifically 4.6 to 7 ejaculations per week were 36% less likely to receive a prostate cancer diagnosis before the age of 70. I'm going to say that again. We're just going to pick a number and say 5 to 7 ejaculations per week were 36% less likely to receive a prostate cancer diagnosis by the age of 70. That's pretty impressive numbers when you think about it. 36% increase. For men, sex may even affect our mortality rate, which basically means our death rate. One study found that in a 10-year follow-up, men who had frequent orgasms, and that was defined as twice a week, had a 50% lower mortality risk than men who didn't. That's pretty impressive. In women, having an orgasm increases blood flow and relieves the natural pain-relieving chemicals, incites the natural pain-relieving chemicals. So it can actually help in the following areas: improving bladder control, reducing incontinence, issues around or symptoms around PMS and during menstruation cramps. It can improve fertility, building better pelvic floor muscles, and protecting you potentially against endometriosis. Now, that's not to say that if you have sex, you won't suffer these conditions, but there is association there, which is really important. And another one, which I think it is very important, is increasing sex. One study showed that basically penile, vaginal intercourse due to the penile thrusting can actually improve the strength of the pelvic floor muscles, of all things. What about that? In fact, women who continue to have sex even after menopause are less likely to experience what's called vaginal atrophy, or a thinning of the vaginal walls because of the contractions that actually happen during sex. Now, we've talked about so far here the physical benefits, but I do want you to take a step back and think. We set out this podcast by saying that we typically only look at the physical benefits, but what about the mental benefits or the psychological benefits? So have a think about how these might pertain in your relationship. Maybe improved kind of satisfaction with your relationship, increased levels of trust and intimacy and love. That's pretty important. An increased sense of emotional well-being, these are like really, really important things to consider, in addition to the confidence boosters that come with being regularly sexually active and being able to kind of express yourself in a different way than not just verbal communication with your partner. And to those of you that are thinking also whether these benefits apply to masturbation as well, well, many of them do cross over, particularly ones that involve the contraction as well of the muscles. So it is very, very much an activity which during this lockdown period, I think that would be good time spent with your partner potentially, or even with yourself, in actually getting across some of these benefits. So I wanted to come on and do this very short podcast as a little bit of fun and dial back on the ultra serious kind of, mentality podcasts which have been around trying to keep your head through this lockdown period with something a bit more lighthearted. But the benefits are not so lightly supported. They are very, very strong. And so having both a strong relationship and a strong sense of sexuality in your relationship can really, really, really help both on the physical and the mental plane. So what's the takeaway message from this podcast? The takeaway message is to don't be a sex pest, fellas. That's not the goal, but certainly working towards better sexual health with your partner and having conversations which ultimately lead to you guys being more physically intimate can be nothing but a good thing, especially given the stress of this whole lockdown period. And to those of you that are kind of feeling that stress, if you kind of notice that maybe your libido is not where it sometimes is, that's because there is a direct implication of being underslept and overstressed on your libido. So it works in the opposite as well. So we're going to leave it on that note, guys. A little bit of fun this morning. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. A little bit lighter, as we said, to dial it back. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs, and you want more love in your life. Feel free to tag any of your friends and family in this podcast and share it if you so be. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Wolves and Warriors, thank you so much for tuning in. If this podcast is hitting the mark for you and giving you the confidence to start your own personal journey, I want you to hit me up on Facebook or head over to my Instagram at jstewart_BetterBodyAcademy and DM me with the words Better Body Academy. I want to give you the tools to permanently overhaul your mind and body without dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Our mission is to achieve 1 million lives transformed, and you, my friend, could be next. So hit me up on Facebook or head over to my Instagram at jstewart_BetterBodyAcademy and DM me with the words Better Body Academy, and we can have a chat about whether we can help you with your transformation goals.